What's up, guys? This is Sam Talks About Games, and today I'm going to be talking about the little controversy surrounding the interview when it comes to linear Zelda versus open world Zelda. Now, Aonuma said that some things were misinterpreted, but essentially, um, open world Zelda is the way of the future. That's fine. I think open world Zelda being the way of the future is fine. But I think there's some things they need to refine, and I think there's some things they will refine. Um, so in this open world format, just really think about it. Does it really matter that we can do the dungeons out of order? The main draw of the open world is the world, and the open world is filled with much side content to do. And I feel like this can be done, this open world content, while also keeping a linear story, traditional dungeons, traditional everything. We don't need memories. I don't think that's the way we need to do things. Take a look at some games like, for example, Red Dead Redemption 2, The Witcher 3. These games are massive open worlds, but they have linear stories with side content being non-linear. Another one that comes to mind is Cyberpunk 2077. Um, but I feel like Zelda doesn't have to copy those. I feel like Zelda could forge its own identity. Like, have your shrine equivalents or whatever they're going to be. But have that linear story with those 8 or 9 dungeons that build upon abilities that you get in previous dungeons. And add little secrets out in the world that you can use your dungeon items that you get on. And who's to say they can't do more traditional dungeons in this current format they have as well? I believe that they probably could. But moving forward, I feel like there's a lot of things that need to be addressed for the next 3D Zelda game. Tears of the Kingdom, I love it. It's one of my favorite games ever made. It's my third favorite game ever made. But there are some issues that need to be addressed. Like, the story, right? The story isn't bad, but it was also memories again. And it's a little frustrating when you get that again after, thinking we might get something more traditional. But nonetheless, the story was okay. Wasn't the biggest issue. The continuity was bad in Tears of the Kingdom. So they tried to make Tears of the Kingdom friendly for new players. And in doing so, they betrayed what a sequel means. People like Bolson don't know who Link is. Things are just weird. But I don't think continuity is going to be an issue, obviously, because the next Zelda game is not going to be a sequel. I would like the next Zelda game to either drop the timeline or do something with it, because Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild are, the timeline feels like an afterthought at this point, and it usually is. Like, it's not the first thing they think about, but it exists and it should be thought of, and it has been thought of. So this little thing that, like, the Zelda team never cared about story. No. They have cared. They have cared about lore and story. It's just I feel like they don't care right now. They care when it's convenient to care. This is coming from a massive Zelda fan, right? I'm not like a Zelda hater. It's tough love. But yeah, so lore, continuity, story, and the dungeons were better. They were better than Breath of the Wild. They had themes. The bosses were great, but they're not dungeons. They still feel a little bit like Divine Beasts. So I want dungeons. I want, like, Snow Peak Ruins. I want Arbiter's Grounds. I want Sandship. And I think there's so much potential for them to do something like that in these open world Zelda games. Have discoverable dungeons in the environment. Or even better, instead of having 150 shrines, have like 20 to 25 mini dungeons that you could find throughout the world, with unique theming. I think that would be great. And I think it would add even more to the open world while having a linear story. I also believe that having a linear story would be a good break for the open world. Um, I think, obviously, the main story is only like a part of the playtime when it comes to these newer Zelda games. Um, but I feel like it could be a break from the shrine hunting or mini dungeon hunting or whatever it is. And I just wish they would follow through with that. But we shall see if they do. Um, I have a feeling that Alan is saying the things he's saying because Tears of the Kingdom is the new game. He wants the new game to sell, maximize sales. I think the next Zelda game, obviously it's not going to be a sequel, so it is going to be vastly different from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. It'll also be vastly different from previous Zelda games. I think when we see this next Zelda game, we're not going to see anything like it. I just don't know what that next Zelda game is going to be like. I can take a guess on what's going to happen in the meantime, like maybe Minish Cap remake, Ocarina of Time remake, stuff like that. But the next Zelda game, only thing I can surmise is maybe they'll go for a Zelda Wii U tech demo kind of art style. And maybe there'll be some more elements of linearity. It'll at least be more linear than Tears of the Kingdom, I think. But how big is the world going to be? How big are they going to go? What are they going to do in terms of the side content and dungeons? And see, they're not bound to this Breath of the Wild leash anymore. Tears of the Kingdom is a sequel to Breath of the Wild. It had to iterate upon it and keep a lot of the things that made Breath of the Wild amazing. But in turn, it has a similar structure to Breath of the Wild. And the Zelda team prides themselves on. Don't get me wrong, like Tears of the Kingdom, did a lot of innovative stuff that I loved and blew my mind. My game of the year this year. But Tears of the Kingdom. The point I'm getting at is Tears of the Kingdom is a sequel, so in turn, it is going to be similar to the first game, but they have an opportunity to do something completely different with the next game. And I think they will, and it's hard to say what it is, but leave your thoughts in the comments below, and hope we get some good Zelda games in the coming years, like we have been getting.